All right, we are recording, so whenever you're ready, feel free.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start. Good evening. My name is Catherine Pereira, and I'm the head counselor at Davis High School. I'm here along with my fellow counselors, Kim Liu, Linda Preciado, Kathy Parker, Ann Morale, and Elizabeth Arroyo. We would like to welcome you to our annual incoming sophomore parent night. Before we start, I'm going to have our principal, Tom McHale, say a few words to you.
Thank you, Ms. Pereira. It's my honor to welcome you this evening to our parent night. I'm very proud to serve as principal at Davis Senior High School, surrounded by a talented and creative staff and really fantastic students. Tonight is the beginning of our exciting journey together. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I've lived in Davis and served as a social studies teacher and then administrator at Davis Senior High School for more than 25 years. My wife, Naoko, and I have raised two daughters, Hannah and Maya, both graduates of Davis Senior High School. And I want you to know that I want your child to have many positive experiences, as our daughters did, and enjoy unique opportunities for our students' personal growth. One important goal that we have for all of our students is that every student is connected to our school in a positive way through an academic program or extracurricular activity. Students have the opportunity to explore engaging career tech pathways, a variety of visual and performing arts, and even explore 4 different world languages. We have exciting facilities improvements and additions on the horizon. We've received very generous grants for CTE upgrades, and we will be building in the near future a really exciting STEM building that your student will be able to enjoy. I really want to encourage all of our students to get involved. We have more than 50 student-centered clubs, like the Environmental Club, Black Student Union, Japanese Culture Club, just to name a few. And students have the opportunity to participate in more than 30 sports programs. This August, students will be part of an orientation program provided by our Link Crew program. That's a student-centered, student-led program so that all of our students enjoy a smooth transition to Davis Senior High School. This coming fall, we will focus closely on our students' social emotional well-being and helping all of our students gain new friendships. We have a dedicated and compassionate counseling department at Davis Senior High School that you'll get to know better tonight. We look forward to helping your child enjoy rewarding experiences at our school. And I want you to know that my door is always open to you. And I look forward to getting to know you better and all of our new students. I wish you well this evening. Thank you for joining us, and go Blue.
Thank you, Mr.
Now I'll turn it back to Ms. Pereira. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, I'm going to try to share a video from our PTA president as she was not able to join us this evening.
Good evening, I'm Karen Fee, the current PTA president. I have a 10th grader, Declan, and 2 older kids, Katie, who graduated in 2020, and Mac in 2018. My message for you tonight is that the PTA is really here to serve and build a relationship between parents, staff, and teachers as advocates for our students. So join the PTA, attend meetings, or better yet, join the board. There will be many openings next year. And let your voice be heard and know what's going on at high school in the off chance that your high schooler doesn't come home and tell you everything that happens at school. To learn more about the PTA, Google Davis Senior High School PTA, and there's information on our website about how to get involved and how to contact a board member. Coincidentally, we have a PTA meeting happening right now. So I'm going to zoom on over to that meeting, but I'm always available for to talk and for your input. And I welcome you and invite you to be engaged in the PTA or another parent group while you're students in high school. Good night.
Thank you. So coming to the high school can elicit a lot of different emotions and feelings. There may be excitement at coming to a new school, and there may be anxiety or trepidation about coming to a new school. Students will make new friends, and they may reconnect with old friends. We hope to make this transition as smooth as possible for our students and parents. One theme you'll hear a lot tonight is balance. Balance helps students be physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy. We want students to find that balance in their day. How are they balancing their academics? What are they getting involved with? Remember, they are only teenagers once. We want them to think back on their high school years with fond memories. We want them to, they shouldn't be spending all of their free time studying. They need time to actually be teenagers. This is where balance comes into play. High school is a time of a lot of growth and maturity as they move towards adulthood. You will see a change from the student who enters high school to the person they become as they graduate and look towards their future. Tonight, you will hear the same presentation that we will share with the ninth grade students next week. There is a lot of information to share, and we ask that you keep your questions. We'll answer the questions at the end. We have disabled the chat, so you'll be able to answer your questions in the Q&A section that you can see on the bottom of your screen. Counselors will be monitoring the questions throughout the evening, and then we'll be answering the questions to everybody at the end. Thank you. So I will start the presentation. And first, I'll have Elizabeth Arroyo speak to our Spanish-speaking families.
Hola familias, mi nombre es Elizabeth Arroyo, soy una de las consejeras aquí en Davis High School. A este momento, si quieren escuchar y participar en esta presentación en español, en el chat puse el link de la escuela. Pueden abrir su chat y pueden seguir ese link para, y hacen para abajo, casi en el medio de la página está el link de Zoom para la presentación en español. So, a este momento yo me voy a salir de esta presentación y voy a empezar la otra presentación. Ahí los veo.
Thank you. So we first want to start off with our Da Vinci Charter Academy information. If your students are still thinking about maybe going to Da Vinci, there is a parent night on February 11th. The link and the sign up will be found on their webpage, davincicharteracademy.net. They have applications that are due Friday, March 12th at 4 o'clock. So we'll be visiting all 3 schools next week. And this is our schedule. We've got Emerson on February 9th, Harper February 10th, and Holmes on February 11th. As you can see, the day before we present to the students, we will be outside their schools with their counselors from their junior highs, passing out course catalogs and all the forms that they will need to sign up for their classes. So we'll be at Emerson on Monday from 2 to 3, Harper on Tuesday, 2 to 3, and at Holmes on Wednesday from 3:30 to 4:30. They will receive a lot of information. They will get a course catalog. They will have a pink sheet that they will fill out all their classes on. There'll be an information sheet. There'll be a course list. Their school will be giving them a transcript, and then there'll be an AP honors contract that they'll turn in only if they're taking an AP or honors class. So when they're choosing their courses, it's really, whoops, been too far. It's really important that they read the course catalog. We put a lot of information in our catalogs. We want them to read the descriptions and make sure they're aware of if any class has a prerequisite, and to make sure they know what that prerequisite is and if they've met it. We would like them to talk to their counselor, their teachers, and of course, their parents about their choices of classes for next year. When they look at the classes, you will see that some of our classes have particular prerequisites. They may have an audition, like some of our music courses, and a couple of our classes do have applications like student government and Avid. The deadlines for all of these will be on page 2 of their course catalog. Students are required to fulfill 230 credits to get their diploma. We want to remind them that 9th grade is their first year of high school. Everything that they're taking in their classes this year is going towards meeting their high school graduation requirements and is on their high school transcript. For balance, it's really important for us. We want to make sure that students are finding things to balance out their academics, whether it's sports or doing a job outside of school, or maybe they're involved in some clubs or theater in the community. So we want them to be realistic. And on page 57 of their catalog, we have them kind of write down the things that they do. So they can make sure that they have time for their academics, but also time for spending time with family, spending time with their friends, and any other outside personal interests they have. We're also looking at the whole student. So not just the academic side, but also the social and emotional side of the students. Davis High School follows the homework policy approved by the school board, and that would be found on pages 54 and 56, and it outlines how much time per night they should be working on their assignments. It is important to note that honors and AP courses do not follow the homework policy. So it is expected that you might spend an hour per night for every honors AP course they're taking. So that's where balance is going to go into play. All AP and honors courses require a signed AP honors contract that you and the student should read carefully before you sign, and they'll be attached to their course request form and turned into the high school. So as our students know, we have something called A through G, and these are subject requirements to be eligible to apply to four-year colleges, particularly UCs and CSUs. So each letter A through G is attached to a category of a subject. So example, A would be history, B, English, and so on. This chart shows you how many years they need of that subject to be eligible to apply to a four-year school right out of high school. So we will go in order of A through G and talk about the classes that they will sign up for. So the first one, history, all sophomores will take modern world civilization. There isn't another choice to take. And you'll note that there is a research paper that's required. We want to make sure that students understand that and are prepared for that. Whether they do it first semester or second semester will be determined by their teacher. For B, they have two choices. It is identity and ethnic literature, which was formerly called English 10. And then we have English 10 honors. That is a weighted grade, as you can see, and there is more reading and writing than the typical English course they would be taking. There are prerequisites in the course catalog, and you can learn more about the classes at our open house also. For math, 2 years of math is required for graduation. 3 is required to be A through G eligible. It's really important that they're talking to their current math teacher about what is the next class for them to be taking in the series. And of course, read the course descriptions and their prerequisites in the course catalog. So D would be sciences. That would be a life science and a physical science that you need both for graduation and for college. So some of the students are taking biology this year, and that would meet their life science requirement. On page 16, we'll have the list of the different sciences that we have. World language or language other than English is not required to graduate from high school. But if you're looking at going to a four-year college, they do require 2 years of the same language. And at least one of those must be completed in high school, which could be 9th grade. So they took Spanish 1 as a 7th grader, Spanish 2 as an 8th grader, and Spanish 3 as a 9th grader. They have met 3 years of the same language, and at least one of those was in high school. For our visual and performing arts, or VAPA, these are classes such as our music courses, art, drama, art and history of floral design, and advanced dance. This is required for four-year college. It is not necessarily a high school graduation because they can also meet that requirement with a world language or CTE. These are very popular classes and they can be filling up really quickly. So it's important that students provide alternate courses to make sure that if a class is full, that we can complete a full schedule for them. So for electives, a lot of times students look at this requirement and kind of panic because you need 75 credits of electives, which is 15 semesters, but it's actually very easy to meet. So this would be any class over what is needed and required for a minimum for graduation. So for example, you need 2 years of math to graduate. So your third year and fourth year of math become electives. Since you don't need world language to graduate, those become elective credits. Your third year of science or your fourth year of science also become electives and so on. So it actually will be very easy to meet. Additional grad requirements. Most ninth graders took health and geography. If they did not, then they want to talk to their counselor about different ways that they can meet that requirement. They need 2 years of PE. Usually one of them's done in ninth grade, and then they can do the other year of PE either in 10th, 11th, or 12th grade, and there are different ways that they can meet that. And of course, they need a semester of a CTE or practical art. We have year-long classes, so if they take a CTE or practical art, the first semester will go towards meeting that requirement, and the second semester will go towards electives. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ann Morrell, who's going to finish presenting to you.
Thanks, Kathy. Hi, I'm Ann. I'm going to just review some slides that give miscellaneous information and a little bit about the process that your students going to go through to actually request their classes online. As Kathy mentioned, we have a CTE component of our students' education. This is something that the district has spent a lot of time focusing on and developing different pathways. There's some great options that they could go through in the catalog. Our health science and multimedia pathways are very popular. Okay, Kathy, can you do the slides or should I? Okay. In particular, look at page 8 and 9 for the different course sequences. Thank you. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about ILS. That's if you have a student who participates in a sport, a CIF, DHS sport, they can get credit, PE credit. They need to sign up for either fall, winter, or spring sport, and then they will, if they are on the roster and they complete the season, they will receive 5 credits for each sport that they participate in. And it's a maximum of 10 credits for any given year. They can participate in more sports, but they're going to receive 10 credits for a maximum. And it does count as a class, so it will be the 7th course that they request. We have other support courses that are available. We have a great Avid program. Many of you have students who are involved with it at the junior high. We offer it at Davis High as well. We also have English language support courses. So they should be talking with their counselor if those courses apply to them. And of course, we have a wonderful, wonderful resource, which is called the Academic Center. And it is staffed by tutors that our coordinator hires from UCD. So she hires tutors that cover the whole gamut of subjects, from biology, chemistry, all the different levels of math and languages other than English. So it's a great resource, and it is open all day, every day except the weekend. So it's a great resource. So advanced placement, we have a lot of AP courses. Those are courses that have standardized curriculum, and it's offered through College Board. So our teachers offer standardized curriculum that is approved by College Board. They're very rigorous courses, and as Kathy noted earlier, we want our students to be really mindful of the fact that it's a lot of time involved in terms of studying. And then of course, in May, across the country, every student who is enrolled in an AP course has the opportunity to sit for an AP exam. And we offer those in May like everybody else. And there is the potential for earning college credit once they matriculate at their given university. Different universities have different policies in terms of how they grant credit, but typically if they score a 3, 4, or 5, most institutions will be giving them some kind of credit. And of course, we don't recommend that our incoming sophomores take more than 2 honors or AP courses. An appeal process. If when your student is looking through the courses and sees that there are prerequisites that they don't meet, if they feel really strongly that they still want to try to get into the class, we do have an appeal process. So they can go ahead and fill out the form. It'll require you as a parent or guardian to complete a form, and the teacher will also submit that. And those will be due when the student turns in the forms. So like colleges, we and most high schools, we now have an add drop deadline. It's really important to note that because we run year-long courses, the add drop deadline is at the beginning of the year for the whole year. So the first 10 days of school are when students can request that they add or drop a course. That doesn't guarantee that we'll be able to accommodate it, but they may, within that time frame, make that request. We love working with your students. That's why we're counselors, and we enjoy it very, very much. And we encourage them to meet with us and get to know us. And we can better support them the better we know them. So we call them in if they don't make appointments, but we certainly encourage them to make appointments and walk in. And we also have an online program. You'll see Naviance. Many of you have students already at Davis High. It's a web-based program that has different personality assessments, career inventory assessments, and it's just a general tool that they can also do post-secondary planning, college searches. It's a great resource. And we introduce that to the students throughout the year. We have a lot of athletes, a lot of involved students, and many of them hope to take their sport to the next level, a collegiate level. And if they do, we certainly want to be talking with them so we can support them in making sure they choose the right curriculum so that they are NCAA eligible, because NCAA has different, slightly different requirements. And this is a plug from our athletics department to make sure that they complete the sports physical packet that's online. And if your student is in a sport and they're a lot of times the sport teams are gone a lot. So we really encourage them to sign up for ILS when they're sophomores, and hopefully that they also get that free 7th period. So Kathy went through the A through G requirements. It's important to remember that C grades, it has to be a C or better for the UC CSUs to look at and count towards their A through G eligibility. So if they have some oopsies on their transcript, we're going to encourage them to deal with them if they want to stay A through G eligible. And we'll certainly discuss with them their options. And then 10 and 11, grades 10 and 11, that's what their UCs are looking at in terms of their GPA. for GPA purposes. When we were talking about those oopsies, one of the ways to remediate or deal with the deficiency is through summer school. And at this point, we know that there will be summer school. How it's offered and the format, we don't know yet. The district is still working on what summer school is going to look like. But we will certainly keep you posted when we know. So the school board many years ago instituted a board policy which limits the number of credits that a student can post on our Davis High transcript, and that limits it to 10 credits. And those credits have to be needed for either high school graduation. So for instance, some students opt to take PE, fulfill their PE credits outside of Davis High. They get to do up to 10, we'll take it. Or if they need that course to meet a minimum A through G eligibility, we will put up to 10 credits on the transcript. And there's more details about that on page 51 in the catalog. So in terms of what actually happens, they have to take, your student as a sophomore has to take a minimum of 6 classes. They may request a free period, either 1 or 7. It has to be at the beginning or end of the day. We certainly encourage, as we said earlier, athletes to take a free 7th. And again, this is tied to how we build our master schedule and our flexibility for changing. It's very, very limited. And so we really encourage students and their families to be very thoughtful about what they actually select, because they should consider in their mind that it's a final choice. So on the actual sheet of paper that Kathy held up, they need to make sure that there's a column. Thanks, Kid. There's a column that says alternates. We love that column to be filled out, particularly for their electives, right? So if not so much English, but like for, if they want photo's a wildly popular class. If they can't get it, what do they want beside that? And go ahead, have them fill out 2 different alternates. Just, number them and circle and just note it so that we know, okay, if photo is full and AP art history is full, then what would they take as another choice? Many of your students are probably auditioning for the various choral groups or music groups. If that's the case, and if they have not heard back whether they're in or not by the time they have to submit their course requests online, what they should put in is the class they want if they don't get in to the audition class. Okay. Then when we hear if they've gotten in, we will go in and put them in the auditions class. Okay. So please review it. Hopefully your student shows it to you and has conversations with you. Go ahead and sign it. And they should sign it too. We're not, we've gotten lots of questions about this, about teacher signatures. We're not worrying about getting teacher signatures, obviously. We'll verify the grade prerequisites. Okay, so then after they've filled out their form, we want them to go on to the portal, which is there. They have a link, they've been given it to them. And the portal is now open, and it's open clear until March 8th. So they have plenty of time. They use this ID and password that they've gotten, and then they need to make sure that they choose next year's grade level so that they're choosing 10th grade. And then they go ahead and select their course selections. And then they should probably double check, because students will say, oh, I didn't mean to take that. And then they're surprised that they accidentally chose dance. So have them double check. Then we are going to have them turn them in March 8th, 10th, or 11th, depending on your school. We are going to collect those papers because we need to see that alternate column. We need to see hard copy of what they've requested. The big mystery is how we're going to get them. We know we're going to get them. We don't know how yet, but we will certainly keep you posted. We'd love it if we could get them in person, but that remains to be seen. Open house. Oh, that's coming up February 25th, Thursday. Please come. There'll be recordings where the different department representatives will discuss their departments and their course offerings. This is a time where if you have questions about, oh, what's the difference between accelerated IM3 and IM3, right? Those kinds of things are what you can look to find answers to at open house. And we actually will be live, and the link is there, and we'll post it, and you can come chat with us. If you're so inclined, you can review this again, and there's the link. Oh, we do have an Instagram account. Thank goodness for our colleague, Elizabeth Arroyo, who actually knows how to post things to Instagram. So please follow us or have your student follow us, because we do post tidbits of helpful information. So I think, thank you so much for sitting through this. I think it's time for Q&A.
So we're going to go through the questions now. And if you still have questions, keep putting them in the Q&A section. We will read through them and read the answers to you also. So Kim, do you want to start?
Yes. So there were quite a few questions about placing students in classes and how students are placed. Some around how students are selected to be in honors classes, who makes that decision, or also how students are going to be placed in math classes, and how teachers are going to be consulted about that. So around the theme of how students are selected to be in certain classes. So with regard to honors classes, many of the honors classes do have prerequisites. So it's important that if your student is interested in taking an honors class, that you are reading the course descriptions in the course catalog and making sure that the student meets the prerequisites for the course. And the reason that the prerequisites are set is that we want the students to be successful in the class. As far as courses that don't have a prerequisite, then obviously a student can choose to take that honors class if they feel that they're ready for honors level coursework. But it's important to recognize that honors level coursework is rigorous, and be aware of the level of expectation for honors level coursework, especially with regard to the amount of homework that might be expected. As far as math or other classes like that, certainly there's a challenge right now as far as students maybe talking with their math teacher about what math they might be going into if they're not taking math this particular quarter. But yes, we do receive information. We do receive information from math teachers as to what the appropriate math course a student should be going into for next year. So not only can a student indicate in their course selections what math they would be choosing to go into based on where they feel they should be going next. But we also receive indications from their current math teacher as to where they feel the student should be best placed. Okay, so, and then there were a lot of questions about ILS and sports. And we're very used to this. We get a lot of questions about ILS and sports. So questions about trying out and signing up for sports. So as far as trying out and signing up for sports, generally students receive information about when tryouts happen and that process as the seasons approach. And that information can be found on the athletic department website, on the DHS website. And Mr. Lawrenson, who is our athletic director, is very good about updating that information. So that's the best source of information with regard to when tryouts are happening, when sports season starts, and the athletic clearance process. As far as ILS, I will try my best to clear up the confusion. So a student needs to sign up for ILS for the season that they will be participating in the sport. And until they make a sports team, until they're officially on the roster, ILS is just considered a placeholder. So that gives them a free 7th. They don't need to sign up for both a free 7th and ILS. Signing up for ILS will automatically give them a free 7th. So for example, if a student is a distance runner and they will be competing, hopefully, with cross country, they would sign up for fall ILS. If they're a swimmer and they hope to be on the swim team next spring, that would be spring ILS. I think some of the other questions about ILS were, how many seasons do they need to compete in and things like that. For each season that you participate in a sport, you will earn, and you take ILS, you will earn 5 credits of PE. So let's say that, again, we'll go back to running. Let's say that you are a runner and you only want to run cross country. So you're taking PE this year as a 9th grader and you're getting 10 credits of PE this year, but you still need 10 more credits of PE. So you sign up for fall ILS as a sophomore and you run cross country, there's 5 more credits. And then junior year, you sign up for fall ILS and you run cross country, there's another 5 credits, and then you've completed your 10 credits of PE. Does that mean that as a senior, you don't run cross country? Sure, you can run cross country, you just don't need any more PE credits, so you don't need to sign up for ILS anymore. And I hope that's cleared up some of the information with ILS. Okay, Ms. Parker, do you want to take a couple of questions that you saw, maybe some themes around?
Mm-hmm. There were a few questions about music auditions, and those dates you can find on page 2 in the catalog. But it'll say other key dates on page 2, and that is music auditions. Applications and audition materials are available at dhsbandboosters.com. And so it'll list like symphonic band, CDs are due March 6th, symphony, orchestra, Baroque ensemble auditions are March 1 through 5. Advanced treble choir, madrigals, and jazz choirs, March 8 through 12. Jazz band is March 15 and 16. And then there's other dates on here. If they are interested in student government, applications are due February 19th. Avid is due March 1st. And Hub, the newspaper, is due March 2nd. So those are all on page 2. There were some questions about if students are at Vinci Junior High and they're interested in Davis High School, we can connect with those counselors and help them register. Usually, I think you guys can correct me, if when we were in person, the Da Vinci Junior High students would come in with the Emerson students and hear the presentation.
Right. So the Da Vinci Junior High students have a link to the presentation that we'll be doing at Emerson. If they don't have it right now, their counselor does have it and they can get it from her. And then the process is they'll just turn in their paperwork to us. They'll do a change of placement of schools. If you're a Davis resident, you just turn in your stuff to us and we pick it up. If you are not a Davis resident, you will need to get an interdistrict transfer to come to Davis High School.
There were some other questions about basic auto and how that's running as an online class. I think there's some wondering about if that remains online next year. They're wondering what that was taught like. So does somebody want to take that question?
It's a lot of books like they do, and a lot of going over the basics of taking care of an automobile. What it looks like next year, we don't know. We're hoping that it's an in-person class, but we really haven't heard yet. So we're planning for that.
Okay.
Again, at open house, that'd be a really good time to go and ask questions of the auto shop teacher. If you can look at the links for CTE, the teacher will talk more about his program and he'll give you how to reach him to ask him more questions.
So there were several questions about taking online courses or community college courses. And, you know, the best information that I can tell you is that it's really important that your student be working with their current counselor at the junior high regarding the appropriate coursework and paperwork regarding those courses. One person asked about if they took an online course, would that replace a period or class at the high school? And the answer is no. You cannot take a community college class or an online class and replace that as part of your regularly scheduled coursework at the high school. You still have to take the minimum number of courses as a full-time DHS student. And if you want to take an online course or community college course, that's on top of or outside of your regularly scheduled day. So if you're looking to take an online course or community college course and you want to know about the appropriate paperwork or what the process is, all of the junior high counselors are very familiar with that process, and they can help your student navigate that as well. There were other questions about things like how certain are we about summer school and what that might look like. And we will be very honest and transparent with you. We are still awaiting information about what summer school will look like and what the format of summer school will look like. At this point, we believe that there will be summer school, but we are still awaiting information. And we know that that is not necessarily the clear-cut answer that you might be looking for, but we would rather give you what information we do have, even if it's not a lot of information, rather than tell you something that isn't transparent. And that's what we can tell you right now. So as soon as we know more information and the junior high counselors know more information, we certainly will be passing that information on to you as parents and to your students. There were other questions about, somebody asked, what is the probability that school will be 100% in person in the fall? Well, again, we would love to have the answer to that question too. And we are learning information just at the same rate as you are. We certainly hope and have all the positive intentions in the world that we will all be in person in the fall, but we all know that the world is very uncertain. And so we can't provide anything to 100 degree of certainty at this point. But certainly that's what we all are hoping for, is that we will all be in person 100% in the fall. So I think that answered some of those questions. Kathy, did you see some other ones?
Yeah, there was a question about when you submit your requests now versus closer to the deadline, does it make any difference? And no, it's they all have till the portal closes on March 8th. And so it's not gonna, it's just getting in there. Nothing's been scheduled. The schedule hasn't been run. So no, just get it in before the 8th. Another question regarding, sort of this whole process is, what if you can't pick up your materials when the date is and time? You can, it is on the catalog is on our website under counselors tab, and then just go to program planning. The form though that they're going to need, probably their counselors will have a place, maybe their main office. I would just, Kathy?
It's online also.
Oh, is it online? Okay. So that materials are online, but you can also have a friend pick up your materials for you. Just tell them you need more. So there was a question about some clarity on Avid. Does somebody want to talk about the Avid class?
What was the question about Avid?
Just wanted to know more about it. What is Avid?
So it's, Kathy, you want me?
Yeah, go for it.
Avid is
Yeah.
a course that offers a lot of curriculum around getting students familiar with college attendance. And it is geared for students who may not come from a circumstance where there's been college attendance in their family. So there's, for instance, I happen to be the liaison with my department to the classes, and I'll go in, and when they have questions or just introducing certain things that many students in our community are very familiar with. Sometimes these students aren't familiar with standardized testing. What is College Board? What is SAT? And then they just are reinforced in college note-taking or note-taking for their courses. There's just a whole lot of curriculum. They learn how to do, what is it called? DBQs. So they just get a lot of reinforcement of things that they're learning throughout the day. And I would also say a huge benefit of Avid is that there's a great sense of community amongst the students because they're together for 3 years. And so they provide a lot of support for one another. And the acronym, FYI, fun fact, is Advancement via Individual Determination.
Thanks,
more
Ms.
question?
Morrow. Kim, do you have some more?
So we're getting a lot of questions about the process for turning in their course planners, what that's going to look like, you know, and the logistics of it all, if there's going to be a certain time slot by last name, you know, if they're going to receive email instructions and all of that. And as you saw in the slide, a lot of it is to be determined at this point because we're still working out the logistics with the individual junior highs. So yes, you will be receiving more information from your individual junior high regarding what exactly that's going to look like, what the process will be for returning the course request form for your individual student. And parents were asking if they could take a picture or scan the course request planner and email it. And yes, you certainly can do that. And then they wanted to know, well, what's the email? So again, all that information will be communicated to you once those logistics have been carefully thought out and planned. So again, as conditions change and as we're working on this, it's, you know, in flux. So we apologize that we can't give you the exact information tonight. Like in the past, we would have been able to, but as we are able to give you the details, and as those are worked out, they will be communicated with you in due time and in plenty of time for you to be able to negotiate a transportation and being able to drop those things off or email them in. There were some other questions. There was one I saw that was about travel abroad and semesters abroad. And certainly, you know, we do have students at Davis High that do study abroad, not necessarily through a particular club or organization on campus. Usually it's done through outside organizations. But there are some resources that you can find through our Career Center. And Ms. Clayton in the Career Center usually has resources from those different organizations in the community. So if that's something that your student is interested in, it's certainly something to be thinking about and planning for, because that obviously does require some logistical coordination with regard to planning their schedule and all of that. So, but yes, we do have students that do that. Kathy, did you see any others?
Yeah. There were a couple questions about, and maybe you already went through this, but the link to watch this presentation again is, will that be on our Davis High website?
Yes, it will.
Okay. So that's that. And then another question was, will the Davis High School open house be recorded? Some can't make it due to other.
So most of the open house is going to be pre-recorded links or segments that are linked on our webpage. So when you click on it, you'll see the math department's presentation, you'll see the science department's presentation, and so on. Counseling will be live to answer any questions that will not be recorded, but it'll be like people come in, they have a question they wanted maybe about their child or about the class, a certain class or program.
Another question was, if they are a Da Vinci High School student and they want to take a class at Davis High School, they're wondering the process for that.
So they will start with their Da Vinci counselor, and the counselor will then let us know that their student wants to take a particular class. They can take a class at Davis High School as a guest as long as there's room in that class. But definitely start with your Da Vinci counselor. They know the process.
Some are asking about summer community college courses. How would students get their paperwork? I assume you mean their transcript to counselors, and they would only need to do that if it's a course that they, that they want on their transcript. So you typically don't need to get us that information unless you need it for graduation or for an A through G eligibility.
So if you're taking a class through Sac City, you'll be signed as an advanced ed student. You're not registering as a community college student. And as for high school students taking a class at a community college, and the Los Rios schools, which would be Sac City, American River, Folsom, and Cosumnes, have certain requirements such as being 16 or finishing sophomore year and a particular GPA. So you want to check with the community college to see what their requirements are.
So I'm noticing there's still some questions about ILS. And one of the themes seems to be, so if you do a sport, let's say in the fall, can you take a semester-long class in the spring? At Davis High, we do not have semester-long classes. So if you are choosing to do ILS to complete all or part of your PE requirement, then during the time that you are in season and completing your sport, you would have ILS for your 7th period. And then for the rest of the year, you would have a free 7th. So you would not have the option of adding a class for a part of the year, say the 2nd semester, if you were doing fall ILS, because we do not have semester long classes. All of our classes are year long with the exception of something like ILS, okay? So I think that might clarify some of the questions with ILS.
There's still some, so someone has a question about where do we get the passwords or the pins to, and it says to sign up for courses online, but that you can get from your student's counselor.
Yes, so the 9th grade counselors are putting together the pins and passwords, and the day before we're going to present there, that was on that slide. So we will, they will be passing out the pins and password and a transcript, and we will be there passing out catalogs for them.
And another question about the pink form. They do register online and fill out the form, and the form is helpful. They're going to turn that back in when they figure out the system. But it is helpful to have that alternative on there. So if they sign up for an elective or some other class that is full, it doesn't fit their schedule, it's nice to have that alternate class. So we don't just pick one randomly that's open. So it's helpful to have it on paper. It also provides that place to put, if they're auditioning and they don't know yet if they're in the class, then they can put that on the form and we can see that and know what class to drop for that. And then there was another question about submitting that form, scanning it, and that would you would just email that to the counselor, this counselor's email.
It'll probably be the 9th grade counselor's email, and they will forward it on to us. But again, we're finalizing right now with the 9th grade counselors how that pickup will look this year. Typically, we're there meeting with all the students and picking them up from them one at a time, but it may be very different this year. So we're still finalizing what that will look like. We'll certainly let you know in advance of turning anything in.
Okay, Kim, do you have any more groupings or do you want to just go through these questions?
I didn't see too many groupings.
Okay.
So when do students find out what their schedules will be? Students receive their schedules in August, about a week before school starts. And again, students will receive specific information about the date that the student will be able to pick up. And again, we're making assumptions that everything will be in person, but we'll be able to pick up their schedule from the high school later on in the summer. So that's when students will know exactly what their course schedule and periods and order of classes will be.
There's a question about, will this year be indicated on a report card or somehow that it was distance learning? Kind of in light of the grades this year, and will that be indicated? And it is in the school report. Do you guys know if it's on the transcript at all?
It was from last semester to let
Okay.
them know that we had all passed grades, not pass grading. And it could be in, I'm not sure yet, but it could be in that this was a distance learning.
Okay. There was a need for a clarification on the pickup date for catalogs for Holmes Junior High. Maybe we can look that up. Okay.
So Holmes will be March 11.
For catalogs, for catalogs.
For catalog, for catalogs?
Yeah, for catalog.
Oh, it will be February 10.
Okay.
From
And
3:30 to 4:30.
3:30 to 4:30. And that's anytime somebody else asked, you have to go by your alphabet. Just no, you just come anytime between
walk, bike, or drive on up.
Yeah.
Pick it up.
Question. Oh.
So
how do we get the, oh, go ahead, Kim.
We're getting some more questions about sports and how will sports tryouts happen. And again, I'm going to refer your questions to the information on our website. That will be the best source of information as it is updated regularly by Mr. Lawrenson, who is our athletic director. And he receives regular communication from CIF regarding where we are as far as sports and moving into the fall where we will be. So I would be checking the information on the website to find out when sports tryouts will be, what those dates look like, and all of that information. And there was just a link to that particular site on our website put into the Q&A.
Question about, are there any non-cut sports available at the high school?
Track and field.
Mm-hmm.
Cross country.
Cross country, yes. Swimming.
There's more. Can't think of them right now.
Next question is, how will COVID-19 unknowns impact any of course choices changes to our students' planning. I think that means if these unknowns that we don't know for next year, will anything impact our program that we can think of at this point? Can't think of anything.
I think it'll be much like this year. We planned for our schedule. If something, life throws us a curve sometimes, and we just had to go to the quarter system, and our schedule stayed the same. And I think right now we're planning for a 1 through 7 schedule. We hope that it is. And so we just kind of roll with it. So it won't really impact the courses that we offer or their schedule necessarily.
So they're asking about transition activities for students, for the incoming sophomores. In August, a parent is wanting to know if August would be a good time to be away or to travel, or if their students should be here for transition activities.
Want me to answer that?
When we have that, everybody belongs in the schedule pickup, that it's important to be here for that,
That's Link.
I think. Link crew, that's right. Which is the week before school starts.
Right. And then we have the schedule pickup the week before, and only a student can pick up their schedule. So if you're away, their friends can't get it, their parent can't pick it up, because typically part of the schedule pickup is getting their ID picture taken. So it's really, when you're planning your vacation, expect the student to be in town the week before school starts.
So students asking about driver's ed. So the reality is that generally we do not have enough student enrollment to offer driver's ed.
We don't have a teacher to teach.
And we usually don't have a teacher to teach the class. So those of you that are asking about how it works logistically as far as signing up for a quarter-long class, we'll be very transparent. The reality is that we generally are not able to run the class because we don't have a teacher to teach the class, and we don't have enough students sign up to be able to run the class.
So students get confused. The driver's ed class is not the behind the wheel. It's just the book part, and most driving schools have it for free, or you can do it online for a very small fee too.
Also asking if classes are online next year.
We don't know.
Will grades be pass, no pass? And if so, how will that impact GPA for UC-CSU? So again, these are all questions that at this point, we simply can't answer. We don't have any information to indicate that classes will be online, but then again, we don't know what the future will hold. So, and the decision for classes to be graded on pass, not pass, that would be something that would be not within our control. So that's not something that unfortunately we can answer for you at this time.
So I can say that last spring when we went to pass, not pass, many schools in our country went to pass, not pass. And so our colleges are familiar with it and aware, and we put it in our school profile if we do. They take that in consideration.
So there's a question. I don't know if you guys already answered it. If a student plays a sport with the club team, can they get credit? Oh, it just went off the screen. Has DSHS ever considered giving PE credit? So they're asking if you can get PE credit for something outside of a DHS sport, and that is not a possibility right now. So
because it is a class, they have to be on one of our high school CIF sports teams. And we do recognize that many of our students do outside sports through gymnastics or rowing or rock climbing, which are all great things. But unfortunately, because it is a class, it has to be one of our school sport teams.
Another question is, can students or parents schedule meetings with counselor or teacher during the course selection period before March 8th? And yes, you should schedule that with your junior high counselor or those teachers. And I'm sure they would be happy to go through that with you.
Another question about, are there new ethnic studies courses? I know that there has been a group working on planning the ethnic studies course district-wide, but I do not believe, and Kathy Pereira, please.
Not for next year yet.
Not for next year, correct? Right? There has not been
Right.
a course approved for next year, but it definitely is in the planning phases. And I know that they have been working on that.
And our English 10 did change to identity and ethnic literature. So we're starting to introduce it in our English classes.
I can add a little bit to that. So I'm in the Ethnic Studies Task Force, and I was just pulling up an email from January 22nd, and it says that there's lesson activity and unit pilots in the fall 21. So the program actually will not, as long as the timeline is not expected to be implemented as a course until fall 2022.
So how do standardized tests such as the SAT work during distance learning?
We have them.
We have been, I mean, there have been SATs and other standardized tests, such as the PSAT, that have been administered during distance learning with all the safety protocols. Obviously, the number of students that are allowed to register for those tests and take those tests has to be reduced to make sure that social distancing practices and safety protocols can be practiced. But nationwide, the SAT is being, and ACT is being administered. In person, depending on the regulations of the state and county. We know that is occurring. Now, it's up to, obviously that's an individual choice. That's a family decision as to comfort level and whether people are comfortable during this time having students take tests and be in those situations. But again, we do know that those tests are being administered.
And there are a lot of schools now that are going test optional. So kind of look at that as a factor also.
So someone said that they understand we don't control whether pass, no pass grades are used, but who does and how can they lobby for this option?
District.
Yes, that's a district decision. So you would need to contact someone at the district level. How do teachers reach out to parents about child's progress or lack thereof? Is there communication as kids get older? I would say there's maybe less communication, but because we assume or we encourage students to be their own advocates as they become older and communicate directly with their teachers. But certainly if parents are concerned about a student's progress, we want them to be participating, and we encourage them to ask those questions and communicate. But obviously, as students get older, usually the first line is for a student to be communicating with their teacher.
There's been still a couple questions about auditions, and I don't know if some of you saw this, but someone posted from Madrigals that there is more information on choir auditions on the individual websites soon. And Miss Deem has information for all junior high school students. Applications become available February 12th. And they also said there's an all choir information session February 11th at 7 p.m. So it sounds like the information's still coming. You seen any more that we haven't answered, Kim?
Okay, so there was a question about the difference between VAPA and CTE for UC-CSU. Okay, so CTE or practical art, that is a high school graduation requirement, and it is not required for UC-CSU. It's specifically a high school graduation requirement. Whereas VAPA, visual and performing art, that 1 year requirement, 1 year long class is needed to meet A through G requirements. So you do need that course if you are planning to apply directly to a 4-year college or university. Whereas the CTE practical art course is needed specifically for graduation. It's not needed for A through G requirements, but obviously you have to graduate from high school in order to be college eligible. So you have to take that class. Hopefully that clarifies that a little bit.
And just to clarify, there's still some questions about when the pickup is for the catalogs at each school. Can we just review the 3 dates?
So we will be at Emerson on Monday, the 8th from 2 to 3 out probably around the parking lot. You can just drive on in. We will be presenting to them on the 9th. We will be at Harper on the 9th from 2 to 3 and presenting to Harper on that Wednesday. And then we'll be at Holmes on that Wednesday, the 10th from 3:30 to 4:30 and presenting to Holmes the next day.
So I think that's the confusion some of them have, is the presentation time versus the pickup catalog time.
Right. So basically Emerson on the 8th for catalog pickup, on the 9th for Harper for catalog pickup, and on the 10th for Holmes for catalog pickup.
Thanks. There's also a little bit of clarification needed for being dual enrolled at Da Vinci and Davis High.
So they would need to go to their Davis High School counselor and tell them that they want to take a particular class at Davis High School. Their counselor lets us know the names of the students that want to take particular classes. And whenever you're a split site student, which is what you're called when you're at 2 different school sites, then you may take a class at Davis High School as long as there's a room available. So the priority goes to Davis High School students because the Da Vinci student would be a guest, but we definitely, there's a lot of classes that students do take from Da Vinci at Davis High School. But everything's going to start with their counselor. They need to let their counselor know that they want to take a particular class at Davis High School so that the Da Vinci counselor can start letting us know.
We're still just kind of scrolling through these.
Can 10th graders take AP music theory if they have previous experience with music theory? Yes.
If sports are canceled next year, will students be able to choose 7th period class if they chose ILS?
We don't offer very much 7th period. So only if there's a class open that is available for them.
And again, questions about how jazz band or musical auditions are going to be offered.
Which classes?
How the jazz band auditions are going to be, if they're going to be live, if they're going to be in person.
So many times anyways, whether in person or not, a lot of the music auditions are often taped and they send in their demo to the department. But you definitely want to go to the DSHS bandboosters.com. That's where they're going to have the information about the auditions, how they will look, what they need, etc.
Here's another question. Students are not being very successful with online school this year. If school is online in the fall, does it work to take a leave and delay 10th grade?
You can't really delay a year because they need to be in school. And they have, once they start, they have 4 years to do high school. So I don't know if it'll be online next year. I don't know, any of us really know, but we hope they can get a lot of supports here if it's not working well for them, or join a cohort group or so.
There's a question about, is there a late start next year?
The late start. From what I've heard, I believe our schedule is going to look a lot like it did last year, where we had the 1 through 7 with a Wednesday late start. But more information will be coming out.
So there, I think this question is saying there was no like web day this year to meet and greet sophomores this September. How will this be done next year?
So we did have a link, an online link this year for our current sophomores. They got a Zoom link where they did it via Zoom. So we're hoping it's in person next August for them to meet with the other sophomores. But that information is coming.
If we're online next year, will teachers have the opportunity to choose between a block and a traditional schedule? Is a block guaranteed? I wonder if they mean, will students have the opportunity?
But the schedules are decided at the district level. So that would be a question about us.
Okay. And is lunch period going to be an open campus? I don't, okay.
Lunch is always open period for us. The
Yeah.
students are allowed to leave campus for lunch. They are expected to make it back to their next class. If they are habitually late for the next class, they can be put on a closed campus, which means that they would need to check in with people so many times during that lunch period. They wouldn't be able to leave campus.
Right. And again, a clarification question. Will they be receiving the login and password in the catalog they pick up, or how are they getting their login and password again?
So they will be getting the login and password the same day as they get their catalog. The 9th grade counselors are putting together a page with their transcript and the login and PIN that they need, the password information. And so they will be passing it out on the 8th, 9th, or 10th, whichever day will be at the school. The same day we're doing the catalogs, they will be getting their password.
So they're basically picking up 2 things, the catalog and then something from the counselors.
Correct.
The PIN and password. Another question about what time will school start and end, if we know that yet?
It's unknown. If we follow last year's schedule, it's what, 8:15 to 3:15, but you know, we haven't heard yet, or 8:30 to whenever. It will be come out pretty soon, but we haven't heard what the actual schedule will look like.
And then asking about specific supports for students having difficulty. Oh, I guess Kathy.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So specific supports for students who are having difficulty with online learning, especially if we go back in the fall. So, I mean, one one thing that
The
we
academic center.
yeah, one thing that we like to discuss and promote is the academic center, where students can access tutors from UC Davis, and it's free for our students. We pay the tutors, but it's free for our students, and they can receive tutoring from UC Davis students in pretty much any subject area. And that is helpful for many students and supportive for them.
Not that one. A question earlier, Avid is a 3-year commitment, is the question?
Not necessarily, but some are in for 3 years, but.
Not
annual.
necessarily, but they certainly encourage the student to make the commitment to stay together and benefit through the whole curriculum of 3 years.
Um,
Does that pretty much cover the questions? Or are there more?
Somebody was asking about if there's an academic center at Da Vinci, but I
Not
don't know
yet.
what types of supports they have at Da Vinci. They don't have an academic center, but we don't know what additional supports they might have there.
You would need to check with the school to see exactly what supports they have in place.
There might be more information on their website as to what kind of tutoring services they might have.
Then are teachers aware of the gap in learning that has taken place academically and socially emotionally? And how will this be taken into account if we return in person?
Wow, big question.
I know.
I'd say teachers definitely are aware of the challenges because they too are experiencing in their own lives the challenges of distance learning. And I think they are aware of the gaps in the learning and the amount of curriculum and interaction that can take place. And absent human interaction in person, there is a lot lost. And I'd be hard pressed to find anybody who doesn't acknowledge that.
If a student is enrolled at Da Vinci, how are they going to obtain their PIN and password?
That would be through Da Vinci. Da Vinci's doing it
Same
their own way.
process, right? They're going to get their information from their counselor at Da Vinci.
Exactly.
You mentioned that there aren't many 7th period classes. So does that mean most kids only take 6 classes next year?
We do have students that take 7 classes. It just depends on which courses they signed up for. We don't have a lot of classes 7th period though.
I think maybe, Kathy, they might have been hearing, like if sports don't run,
Right.
and then if they find at the beginning of the year that they don't have ILS, it's like, can they at that late hour add something?
Right.
And it's that there aren't a lot of electives
Right.
that are offered.
Correct.
There are other courses like English, they've already been scheduled in. So that's where the difficulty in adding a 7th period elective to replace ILS is.
Correct. And we don't offer PE 7th period because that is, our PE teachers are doing ILS that period.
Mm-hmm. And there were a few this year that did that, and there were some classes, but yeah, there's not a lot, and then they fill up. So did you already answer the question about if they have not passed 5 or 6 physical fitness tests in 9th grade?
No, I don't think we've answered that one yet.
Okay, so they're asking if they haven't passed 5 of the 6 in 9th grade, it says in their catalog they must enroll in a year-long physical fitness class in 10th grade. They want to know if that will still apply.
To do ILS, you're supposed to have passed 5 of the 6. Otherwise, they do want you in a traditional PE class.
Okay. Another question similar to, will there be any activities for new sophomores in the fall? Should they trying to plan their vacation around anything happening in August that the kids are needing to be there for?
I think keep in mind, school starts the end of August. The week before that on, there's things for them to do. They'll be picking up their schedules. There'll be the pictures taken. There'll be the link crew, which is the sophomore orientation. So I would say the last week or 2 of August, there are things that they probably want to do. A lot of sophomores get really stressed when they don't have their schedule when everybody else does, and they want a chance to walk the campus to find out where classes are. And so just to kind of keep that in mind.
Okay. And again, a recording of this meeting will be on the Davis High website. Someone just asked that again, and you can find that there. So
We have just a few more minutes. So we can go through some questions here, and then we're gonna have to finish up.
I think we got
Okay.
through the
Great.
question.
there's some questions, or not really a question, but wondering what the teachers can do if they want to open. Is there anything teachers can do to help open up the schools?
I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah,
I don't know that that's something that we can address.
Right.
I understand people's feelings about that. I think that's beyond us right here.
Mhm.
I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. I hope you got some information about coming to the high school next year. Again, we will be presenting to your sophomores, our incoming sophomores, next week, and they will be bringing home the catalog for you to look at with them. So again, we are happy that you're able to join us, and we want to wish you a good night.
Welcome to Davis High.